The Dallas Stars fell behind the Vegas Golden Knights 3-0, but they've clawed their way back in the series, winning the last two. Dane Lewis of Locked On Stars comes to discuss what the difference has been in the last two games and how the Stars can keep this series alive. All that and more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to thank everyone for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get podcasts or on YouTube so you can get the latest episodes as soon as they drop. And we're now also available on Sirius XM on the SXM app. Just search for Locked On NHL. Well, the Western Conference Final has been a real roller coaster ride, and it's my pleasure to welcome back to the show Dane Lewis of Locked On Stars. Stars back in it after winning the last two. And Dane, what's been the biggest difference in the last two games that have allowed the Stars to stay alive?
Yeah, well, I feel like there's several different avenues you can go down when you're looking for the exact reason for the Stars' success over the past two games, but a lot of it has just been continuing to play their game and not really, cracking under the pressure. You talk about or the illusion in sports a lot of the times, or really, I guess, anywhere in life, but I think it applies here in this series, is the Stars are the duck on the pond where, they're calm and collected on top, where they're not letting the pressure get to them, but they're still working incredibly hard, under the water, kicking like crazy to be able to move, to be able to navigate. So that's kind of where the Stars are at right now, where they're having to play level-headed. They're having to keep their composure and play near perfect hockey, because this Vegas team is incredibly disciplined, incredibly well coached under Bruce Cassidy. And the Stars over the last two games have, done a really good job of, for the most part, avoiding penalties and not giving the Vegas Golden Knights too many good looks in order to, make Jake Oettinger's life more difficult. And it's really just been a team effort across the board ever since Game 3. Of course, Jamie Benn has been out of the picture, but the Stars get him back in Game 6 after his suspension. And so it's been other guys stepping up. I mean, you saw Ty Dellandrea, a guy who's been a bottom six player almost the entirety of the season. He gets 2 goals in Game 5. Luke Glendening, a fourth line guy, he gets a goal in Game 5 as well. Jason Robertson is finally starting to look like the player we expected him to be in this postseason. He's up to, I think he scored a goal in nearly every game this series. He has 7 now on the postseason, 5 in this series against the Golden Knights. So it's been everybody chipping in. And of course, Jake Oettinger has been lights out ever since the Stars have been on the brink of elimination. I don't have all of the numbers in front of me, but if you look at his numbers across every elimination game he's been in, including last year, 2 of them against Calgary, and then this year, 1 against Seattle, and then a few now against the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, it's a well above 900 save percentage, only allowing 2 or so goals a game. So it's been, the Stars coming together as a team and recognizing that, there's still a long way to go. They still need to win 2 more games, but with each and every game that passes, if they continue to win, you start to believe a little bit more that this team just got off to a slow and unfortunate start in this series. They found themselves on the losing end of 2 overtime affairs in games 1 and 2. And you're starting to see that, this series is close and tightly contested, and the Stars very much have what it takes to hang with this Vegas Golden Knights team.
You mentioned Jamie Benn before. How did the Stars handle his suspension, and what does his return mean coming into Game 6?
Well, the Stars were very supportive of Jamie Benn, not necessarily in what he did, but in the fact that he's the leader of the team. They were unapologetically acknowledging the fact that he is the captain of the team, and that they take great pride in having him as the captain, and they were going to do everything they could in order to make sure he got to play at least 1 more game this season. And the Stars held up their end of the deal. Of course, no one on the team was supporting what he did to Mark Stone. Obviously, I think the suspension was warranted. The 5-minute major was warranted. The ejection from the game, all of that warranted. And I think at the end of the day, and some people will choose to not believe this and believe that Jamie Benn is just a dirty player out to hurt people. And I don't believe that to be the case. I do think that he let his emotions get the best of him in the moment. And let his actions maybe speak a little too loudly in a moment that, really did hurt the team. But I think the Stars are excited to have him back. And Pete DeBoer, in his media appearances ever since the end of Game 5, have indicated that Jamie has been very excited and has been ready to get back in. That he hates, having to watch from the press box or having to just watch games. He wants to be out there on the ice with his guys and with his team. And that he feels awful for what he did and feels awful for putting the team in the position that he did where they found themselves down 3-0. But now he has a chance to come back and redeem himself and potentially help his team do something that's never been done, come back down 3-0 in a conference final series. It's been done in the playoffs, I think 4 times, but never been done in the conference finals. So it's, pretty lucky. You might say that Jamie Benn does get one more chance, but it's lining up for him to, redeem himself a little bit after putting the Stars in a hole at the beginning of Game 3.
How important is it that Game 6 is back in Dallas?
Oh, it's big. And I've been saying this on Locked On Stars that Game 5 was so important because you need to prove, obviously it's win or go home in Game 5, but if you win that game, you prove that you can win in Vegas and that it's not impossible to defeat the Golden Knights on home ice, where they've been pretty good throughout the entirety of the postseason, and the Stars themselves have been very good on home ice throughout the entire postseason. They've now only lost 1 home game per series, Game 1s against Minnesota and Seattle, Game 3 against the Vegas Golden Knights. And so now the Stars, it's not that there's less pressure. There's, of course, still pressure of you're on the brink of elimination, but you get to be in your building. You get to sleep in your own bed the night before. You've got 18,000 plus of your fan base right there behind you and right there with you every shift of the game. So, it's exciting. And, if you had told me at the end of Game 3 that we would be in this situation and that the Stars would be getting to play in front of their home crowd one more time, I'm not sure that I would have believed you. But it's huge because we know the Stars can win at home. And now we also know that they can win in Vegas. So if they can win this one at home, the pressure is on the Vegas Golden Knights to defend home ice, as they're the ones who are, then they find themselves on the brink of elimination as well, after it seemed like they had the series all locked up at the end of Game 3.
So what's the biggest key for the Stars to win Game 6 and possibly even win Game 7?
Yeah, the key is just to keep the foot on the pedal. They've done a great job over the past few games of driving to the net and getting a lot of their goals in close. The Vegas Golden Knights play a very disciplined structure of defense where they kind of crowd the slot and crowd a lot of the outside shooting lanes. And so they're either getting bodies on pucks or Adin Hill is able to read those shots and make an easy save. But if you look at a lot of the goals over the past couple of games, they come from in tight and they come from around the slot or around the crease. And so they're having to make Adin Hill work to make those saves. And when he's been put in that situation, he's been successful at times, but he's also let quite a few go in, whether it's a Luke Glendening tip in from a Thomas Harley slap shot at the top or Jason Robertson working his way down low. It's been that recipe that's worked for the Stars. So every now and then you can get one from far out to go if you have a guy like Rope Hintz or Joe Pavelski or even Jason Robertson who can let it fly from out there. But the recipe for the Stars in games 4 and 5 have been to get in down low and make Adin Hill work for those saves, because he'll make them every now and then. He's proven that he's a good goalie here in these playoffs, but he is beatable, and he's very beatable if you can get down low and make him scramble and put him in those high danger scoring chance opportunities. And if the Stars are able to keep doing that, and if they can do just enough defensively in front of Jake Oettinger, they have a great chance to win these next 2 games.
All right. Well, Dane, I know you'll be following it every step of the way. Why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Of course, they can find the Locked On Stars podcast on YouTube or any podcasting platform of choice. You have it right on the head that we'll be following this game and following the remainder of this series and hopefully even beyond if the Stars are able to make history and pull off the comeback. And if anyone's interested in following along on Twitter, they can search for the podcast on Instagram or Twitter. Just search Locked On Stars. And myself personally, just search Dane at Dane _Lewis. And yeah, that's just about everywhere that I can be found. And if there's anyone out there looking for more Stars info, we've got you covered at all those spots.
All right, Dane, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Of course. Thank you, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. Well, it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, available to U.S. customers only. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.